All right, folks, as promised, we are going to talk about the first four seals in the book of Revelation, chapter 6. And the first one we are dealing with is a white horse. So let me read the appropriate verses here. We are talking about verse 1 and 2 of Revelation chapter 6. And it says this: "Now I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures saying with a voice like thunder, 'Come and see.' And I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer." Now, of course, I am not going to get into the ins and the outs of this, but undoubtedly, we are talking about the final Antichrist here. Of course, he is given the crown to rule. That's basically what it means. He is going to be the person that is going to have a tremendous amount of power and influence. He will be the most powerful ruler that the world has ever seen outside of Christ when he comes, of course. And what is very interesting is he sits on a white horse, which oftentimes is indicative of something that would appear to be peaceful. And as a matter of fact, the Bible tells us that he has a bow, or will have a bow, but it doesn't appear that he's going to have any arrows, which tells us that the way he is going to conquer and the way he is going to be conquering is going to be as a result of his ability to make representations and to sort of gather people around to manipulate them through his fear and through his tactics. Now, eventually we know that that's going to become far worse. And the Bible actually tells us in the book of Daniel that he will start his reign of terror, in essence, when according to Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, when the actual treaty, for lack of a better term, I don't know if I want to call it a treaty, but some sort of a peace agreement that's going on here. The Bible says covenant, but when it is made strong, that's the way it's translated. So I think it's going to be an existing covenant that is going to happen. By the way, I just want you to know the seal that we're talking about here gets opened after the rapture, okay? We can establish that through what we read about in Revelation chapter 1. We can establish it at the beginning of Revelation chapter 4. It's not a very difficult thing to establish a timeline with, so it's after the rapture, and we know that because the tribulation cannot commence until a couple of things happen. Number one, the church is raptured. That's according to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. This is how we could put the timeline there. And the other thing that we know is that the tribulation itself cannot commence until the Antichrist makes strong the covenant. So we don't know if the very second he appears, he'll appear by making strong the covenant. But I suspect that when he is known to people, the covenant may not be made strong immediately. He may sort of raise up and people may recognize him, and maybe even some people will be able to identify him after we are raptured. But I can tell you that the tribulation timeline will not start until that covenant is made strong that we read about in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. And of course, we know he is not going to be a good guy. We know that in the middle of this tribulation period, he is going to set himself up in the temple. He is going to demand to be worshiped, and nobody that chooses, or anybody that chooses not to worship him, will actually be killed. They will be forced, everybody will be forced to take the mark of the beast on the forehead, or of course on the right hand. And if they don't, they won't be able to buy or sell. And those who literally reject accepting the mark will die. And this guy is literally going to be satanically inspired. It is going to be the final Antichrist, because we know there have been many throughout the years, but he will be the final one. And this, of course, is the first seal. This is the white horse that we read about in Revelation chapter 6. So tomorrow we are going to get into the next one, and that's going to be a very, very interesting one. We'll talk about the next horse, and look, I'm telling you, you guys, you don't want to be here during this time, okay? I'm just going to tell you that right now. I mean, this satanic dictator, the final Antichrist, he's going to want to conquer, and he's going to conquer. He's going to be hardcore. So this is going to be a big thing. Tomorrow we'll go over the red horse. God bless you guys.